drummers
That's
were doing.
not too bad.
You know what's interesting about his playing that I actually thought about very recently? Jerry Garcia exists before the concept of Guitar Hero. So there was a certain muscularity that Guitar Heroism picked up in 70s, late 70s, early 80s was where I feel like there was a certain atomic bomb kind of playing on the
like
guitar.
Pete Townsend kind of playing.
Yeah.
And Hendrix.
Nice.
And I think what people are going back to about Jerry's playing is it's pre-high energy guitar ripping, and it's more subtle and nuanced, and it's a little more like swimming than it is cigarette boats, you know? And it is scuba diving, you know, I can understand the correlation. And so for me, I didn't realize it until maybe early this morning when I was thinking about this podcast. But wow, before guitar playing got so acrobatic, and I think all us guitar players who have moved all the way through, turn it up, crank it, put a tube screamer on it, let it rip, there's an elegance that we never quite caught on the guitar that we're now super curious about finding this elegance on the guitar. Jerry's not doing this. He's not doing, I think it's more like this. Just happened to have to be played this way. But it wasn't, it was, it was piano like this way to me, you know.
So what music inspired you to pick up a guitar? Who are your guitar gods?
Mine are probably we probably have like one in common.
Who's that?
Clapton.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Well, the thing about Clapton that's important to remember as a guitar player, it's a necessity because Clapton is lyrical. Doesn't mean he's singing lyrics, but he's playing lyrics on a guitar, which is why housewives, people who don't even know how many strings are on a guitar, want to listen to Clapton play the guitar, because Clapton finds a way to play guitar in a way that hits people in the heart, not the head, you know, and he's a lyrical guy.
Which was kind of cool into these like really cool Eric Johnson things. Right? Now I want to figure it. And I sort of do it with my finger. Sometimes I sit and practice just the ergonomics. I'm not even really playing. Oh man, I'm so tempted to try Cliffs of Dover, but then there's just going to be a clip of me trying Cliffs of Dover called John Mayer Attempts Cliffs of Dover, and this is going to say 1K, and this is going to say 4K. So
every day I wake up.
What am I supposed to do with this today after you lose an artist and a guitar player such as Prince? What do you even play? The loss that an artist feels when another artist dies, it's hard to explain because you don't want to sound like you're making more out of it than you deserve to. But when it's the guitar player, and when it's someone that you know and can hear the thousands of hours, I mean, on top of an incredible gift, and just think about how good somebody could be at their instrument, and not just one instrument, you know, all of it. And for me and my friends and the rest of the world growing up in the 80s and 90s, learning how to play music, what a great role model as a musician to look up to people who were so good at what they did that they could wear whatever they wanted to, they could make whatever decisions they wanted to, and you trusted that it was a function of the talent, that it had to happen because that's what needed to happen for the talent to also survive. That's where freakiness that I believe comes from. He's the best pop musician that ever lived. That's the best pop musician. And at a time where you were either an artist or an entertainer, to be both is unbelievable. And very, very, very few people do it. That is a man who did it perfectly, as far as I'm concerned. Derek's signature move is making the guitar sound like a female singer from the 50s or 60s just belting it out. things are called frets, and those are very descriptive delineations of notes. Well, he doesn't even pay attention to the frets because he's got the slide, so he's going up and down. So he's got infinitely more sounds on his guitar than I have. There's not a lot of people that you hear demos, you hear bootlegs, and you go, wow, this guy figured it out before he even walked out his house. And what that thing was half brutal force and half finesse. It's bend as hard and as fast as you can bend, but hit the note like a paper airplane landing perfectly on the street, you know? I think if you'd never heard of him before, to watch a guy come out on stage and not even consider that it might possibly not go over, I think is what makes people kind of defend themselves for a minute over, well, what is this? Really? Can I really believe this? What's going on, you know? I was listening to Poison and Motley Crue, and then I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan, and there was a big regime change in terms of posters in my bedroom wall, you know? If these weren't good tunes, they would just be excuses for guitar playing, and people would have eventually looked the other way, or he would have been a guitar playing phenomenon only within guitar players. Very few guitar players make it to the housewife contingency, and Stevie Ray Vaughan did, and it's a testament to the triple threat of his voice, his guitar playing, and his tunes, you know. To play like Stevie Ray Vaughan, there are some people, and myself included, who, given a certain time of day, certain part of the set, certain culminating energy that happens in the room, you can play with that same intensity, but you can only do it for about 20 seconds, and then your entire arm cramps up, and you got nothing.
Santana strikes me as one of these players that, as great as he sounds on record, I bet when you're in front of him and that music is whooshing out of him, I bet there's another element to the force of what he's doing that you can't quite catch on a tape.
I'm going to say something that might sound a little sacrilegious, and I don't mean it to. I actually mean it to sound more religious than you think. But, you know, I go over to the amplifier and I kneel on the ground and I pray to the ghosts of guitarists past, and I want to be that, you know. And I say, I wish I could be like Jimi Hendrix. But Jimi Hendrix died at 27 years old, so I don't want to be like Jimi Hendrix. I know it's weird, it's awkward, you don't want to scream for that because you're supposed to scream for Jimi Hendrix, and I'm just saying that maybe I won't reach that. Maybe I'll never get that freaky. Maybe I'll never be that linked up to that other thing. But the older I get, you know what? The more I don't want to be linked up to that other thing. I want to play the best guitar I can play and still love myself and my friends around me when I go to bed at night, you know? And yeah, I'm not as good, but I'm very thankful that I'm just good enough to play the guitar and have some people show up, but not so good that I see things that aren't there, you know what I mean?
Nice. Hendrix, right? Well, you can even look at Hendrix, and that was, although strangely enough, there's some revisionist history on Hendrix because Hendrix was a fairly soft player. He was just loud. Eddie Kramer, who was Hendrix's producer, was in the studio across from me one time and was playing me the solo tracks from Band of Gypsies,
which is the best thing ever.
And we all have it wrong. Every guitar player has it wrong. It ain't that crunchy. It's not that distorted. It's actually pretty glassy. It's just loud, but it's his control of it that's pushing.
That's happened. Yeah.
And so